Hello there. Today we're going to be talking about something that I find very interesting. We're going to talk about the four types of economics and three types of political systems. And again, you got to remember that these four and these three political systems are mixed. And so every time you think about something, you think in a very mixed way. You don't think, oh, it's this one set thing, and you don't if you disagree with someone, you don't act on violence or whatever. You get the point, right? So we're gonna talk about some stuff, right? So there are four main types of economic thoughts. Well, you got the classical school, which is probably closer to the Chicagoans than anybody else. But besides just classical school, because they were the ones who came up with economics, they're really not the basis for any economics today. I mean, yes, Adam Smith's lesson is still being taught. People are still learning about it, but I would say the Chicagoan school is one of the main schools. In fact, I love the Chicagoan school, not my favorite. The Austrian School of Economics, this is Liebman von Mises's Etymological Problems of Economics. He wrote it in German, and then it got translated into English. And then, what's another one? And I also have some Keynesian. That's not Keynesian. Oh, there it is. Keynesian. And then we have another thing. I don't have Karl Marx, but I do have a thing inspired by him. The USSR Constitution. And so, those are the four different types of economic thought. Those are the four basic types, anyway. Basically you've got the so if you were going to do a spectrum, right? So philosophically, the Marxists and the socialists, I should say, socialists and the Austrians are on the furthest ends, but they think very philosophically. They're not scientific at all in their analysis. They're not mathematical. They're not. I mean, yes, the Marxists claim to be scientific with their whole exploitation of profit, but they're still philosophical, in my opinion. They care way too much about. They're more humanist than they are humanist and philosophical than they are mathematical or calculated basis, unlike the Keynesians and the Chicagoans. So that's why I like the Chicagoans, because the Chicagoans, they're not a big. They don't like the idea of government controlling interest rates and money supply that much. They do like money supply control, but from what I can tell, they don't like. They want to amend the Constitution to make sure that money supply doesn't go too high. From what I could tell by Milton Friedman's book, the Free to Choose by Milton Friedman, by Rose and Milton Friedman. Sorry, I forgot about Rose. How could I forget about Rose Friedman? Whatever, right? Her name's Rose. So Rose and Milton Friedman wrote that book, and they talk about amending the Constitution to budget the inflation and the budget equal budget bill, and I don't think it's ever going to work. Honestly, that amendment's never going to pass because people are too corrupt. But it is very interesting that they proposed an amendment to the Constitution, and they wrote it out like a constitutional scholar would write. It is very fascinating. They definitely have read the U.S. Constitution. Like, they have, it's Section 1, Section 2. It's like exactly how you would structure a constitution. They're very smart people. I gotta give them props. I haven't read the whole book, but I read that section of the book, and I was very impressed by the whole thing. Anyways, besides the point, right? You got the Chicagoans. So those are the four mains. You got, again, socialists. You got the Keynesians who believe they can control employment technically with corporate enterprise and interest rates, and it's sort of weird. And you got the Chicagoans who believe you can measure the resources and the production of a TV's gotten lower because of higher division of labor. And you got the Austrians who believe that human action dictates, is unpredictable, and you can't scientifically test it. And they believe in this ideal of this subjective theory of value, and they reject the ideal of a national theory of value and a labor theory of value. I actually agree with them on that. I don't think the labor theory of value or the national theory of value is right. You should not be trying to preserve jobs that lower the division of labor in your country. That's stupid. Don't have coal mining jobs if that's not what the market demands. I mean, I understand you want to keep your job or whatever, but the market doesn't demand it. It's pretty outdated already. You know what I mean? So that being said, like the Austrians just want the market to do its thing. They want the cheapest products as possible. The Chicagoans don't really. Chicagoans have a more scientific basis on how products are being produced, and they don't study human action, they study resources. So that's really the major differences between the Chicagoans and the Austrians. They're more about human truth, human action, but they don't scientifically test things, which makes it very hard to prove their theory is correct or not correct. You know what I mean? That's the thing about the Austrians that I just don't like. And I also don't like the idea of them having hard money, like gold or silver or whatnot. I think in some way I do like the idea of government controlling money supply, but in another way I don't. Like, I don't like the Federal Reserve, but because they're unappointed. I mean, they're appointed by a president. But, I mean, I guess you're voting for the president. Indirectly, you're voting for the chairman of the Fed. I mean, there's an electoral college, so it's a whole mess. But, whatever. Let's just hypothetically, you are voting for the president when you're voting for an elector. But, that being said, it's just like, it's a complete mess. It's a complete joke. But I just don't know. Like, every government has a central authority to print money. So, and gold, clearly it was going to get taken out anyway. The gold standard was going to get taken out because there was just nothing backing it. You know, there's way too many bills per ounce of gold. With 1971's Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. Hopefully you guys know that history lesson. I don't need to tell you about that. But yeah, the Austrians are wanting to go back to that system. But I don't think that people value gold that much. In my opinion, I don't see very many people hoarding gold. I only see like crazy people hoarding gold. In my opinion, you should not be hoarding gold. You should be hoarding guns and bullets and food and water. And that's hard investing. Really, it's hard insurance, not really investing. But if things get really bad, yes, it's considered investing because you are investing for a worse outlook. Okay, we're done with the whole spectrum left versus right thing. I'm in between the Austrians and Chicagoans. I like the Chicagoans because they can scientifically prove themselves. I like the Austrians for their philosophical take on the fact that those theories or values are wrong. Amazing, right? So, right now we're going to do the triangle of politics. So instead of having a left-right thing, a lot of people don't realize this, but politics is more of a triangle. It's more the French school of thought. When they talk about liberty, fraternity, or no, this is equality, this is fraternity. So the fraternity people are what we consider right-wing. The left-wingers are more communist equalityists. And then the libertarians are on the top, or liberals, I guess. And so if you look at a triangle, right, these guys are humanists. The libertarians and the communists are humanists. These guys are statists. The libertarians believe in a state, and the fraternity people, the fascists, believe in a state. And on the bottom, the reason why the libertarians oppose fascism and communism is because of control. They both use control to get what they want. The fascists use it because of stability, and they believe it's the best way, it's the most honest way to run a society. The communists do it because they want to equalize everyone, but of course it never happens, and humans are always corruptible, and so it never works out in the end. So, that's how the triangle works. There's control on the bottom, humanists, the communists and the libertarians obviously believe that humans have more value than the state. And then you got the statists, but the libertarians obviously value the individual more than the state, but they still believe in a state, unlike the communists who eventually their goal is once everybody's equal, and once everybody has the socialist doctrine in their mind, once they purge everyone who doesn't believe in it and everyone who does, everybody will have one singular goal and the state will shut off like a bug. But it doesn't work. It never has. You never give power and then relinquish it. It always just goes up and up and up more and more power, as they say, I guess. So, absolute control corrupts absolutely or something. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah, that's by Lord Action, I believe. Just like, and the Austrians obviously oppose that order. They oppose both the anti-communists, the fascists, and the anti-communists and the communists, because the anti-communists were really this fascist. They believed in a state, so they have this very different utopian worldview. They believed in like ultranationalism. Some of them believed in certain ethnicities were higher than others, like the Germans. The Italians never really believed that. The Italians were just ultranationalists. They didn't really care that much about what you looked like in Italy. They didn't, as long as you conformed to their culture, their weird kind of, they call it corporatism, but it's trade unionism as well, or fascism. Basically, they believed every trade union was a organ, and then these organs would make up the state as a hierarchy. So they believed that individuals the bottom, and they want to reduce the individual so the voice of the body goes. The organs have more power, and they believed if you amplified those organ powers, that you would actually kind of amplify the individual, even though the person's been squashed by the organs of the state. It's a very dumb ideology, and I just don't understand it personally. I need to read more on that, but I haven't. And again, German National Socialism is a lot closer to Marxism, or what you call communism, than it is to fascism or corporatism. I would say corporatism is the most right-wing fraternity-based ideology. And then, National Socialism is sort of close. It's closer to fascism, but not exactly fascism. And then you got the Marxists on the other side. And then you got the United States is sort of dead in the middle. And there's also two different types of liberals. There's the fast-acting types, which are Rousseau. They believe that humans are naturally good and we should, tear down institutions so we can have that natural goodness. And you got the slow-acting libertarians like me, who are John Locke fans, who basically believe that humans are very corruptible. And in order to prevent corruption, you must have slow-acting institutions, so they don't immediately corrupt the world with their ideals so quickly. And I'd say I would propose a 7-year amendment. If I was going to make a new amendment to the Constitution, I would make it so it'd be hard to amend. Obviously, that's how John Lockean I am. I'm just so into that that theory. And they also John Lockeans believe the ideal of holding weapons because it's, security of a free state. Security of a free state. You must have a militia. If you don't own weapons, then you're just a subject at that point. You're not actually a civilian. That's what the John Lockeans believe. Or, a citizen. So, I mean, that's basically the John Lockeans and Rousseauians. The Rousseauians are more on the humanist side than John Lockeans. But John Lockeans, they value liberty way more than the Rousseauians, I believe. People who believe in Rousseau, I don't know. I don't understand why they believe that humans are naturally good. And I think me being on this world, I don't hate humans necessarily, but when you spend more time with them, you understand how flawed they are in their line of reasoning and everything like that. And so that's why John Locke appeals to a lot of people, excluding me. And the United States Constitution is based mostly on John Locke. There is some speech from Rousseau in the U.S. Constitution, but it's not as clear as John Locke. It's pretty obvious that John Locke inspired most of the ideals of the founding fathers. So again, four theories of economic thought, and you got the 3 theories of political thought. Remember liberty, equality, fraternity or fascism, communism, libertarianism, and then you got what do you call it? Humanist, value human, value state, value order. So you got to remember that. Just because I hate seeing these communists call everyone fascist on both sides, even though they are right wing to them technically. If you look at the triangle, if you slide it up, yeah, they technically are right wing. I won't say that they aren't, but the control is what we oppose as libertarians. Okay, you are someone, I am someone else. I hope you learned something today.